Namaste, Jai Bharat. Critical thinking. Of late, in the universities in particular, as well as among the learned people, students, scholars, especially with the youngsters, a concept of critical thinking is much laudable. They are very enthusiastic about the process of critical thinking as well as the concept of critical thinking. For anything and everything, I often heard youngsters speaking that this is lack of critical thinking. Presumably and probably, they assume that some intellectual confusions, misunderstandings, etc. could be overcome with a legitimate critical thinking. I willfully used the word legitimate critical thinking, which will come to speak in time. Maybe not directly, but in time. Now, let's see what's critical thinking. Two things I would like to present in front of you. One, there's a kind of conformism in front of you. Conformism would say you agree to things projected, suggested, presented, told, taught without questioning. You agree to things given to you without questioning, and you just accept these things in total. Let's call this as conforming oneself to a set system of water. You look at the jihadis, the terrorists, especially Islamic terrorists. They just accept whatever is told to them. It's not that they have directly read it and understood, that I am very sure. It's not that they have directly read some books and understood. In vast majority of the case, they are taught, not simply told, taught that things are these things. The teaching comes first. Then many of them are highly educated, at least lettered. Many of them are highly lettered. And when they start reading by themselves, those educated must have definitely gone into reading. They already read with a kind of bias, if not fetishism. And with that objective, with that understanding, they read it and then getting themselves confirmed to not what is suggested in the text or books, but they are finding justifications for whatever they had been taught through the texts and books, which confirms their position, makes them comfortable. This is conformism. Varieties of conformisms are there. You can find out these things in your own personal experiences of understanding. So it came, critical thinking in the beginning in the original form, not really the original form. I'll tell you what the original form is little later. Critical thinking in the beginning, for in European context, comes as a healthy reaction against conformism. And then slowly critical thinking slips into various patterns and forms, not accepting simply because it is told, not accepting simply because it is demonstrated to be presented in a text that you would accept and believe. So this is a general way. But critical thinking initiates your own understanding, critically examining whatever is presented. Is it really the case or not? What is it to say that X is the case through a teaching or a book? Now this is the point. What is it to say that X is the case through a book or a teaching or a presentation by someone whom you think is as great? You ask that question, what is it to say, and you should get an answer. And if the answer confirms to what this person says, then you agree with it. But in most cases, the answer which you get it through a rational mind, open mind, healthy mind, might not be in step with the things which are taught to you. Then you are not going to be accepting it totally. This is how the process of critical thinking takes place. Now, critical thinking evolves, and people speak about critical thinking a lot, and it moves in an extreme. Now, this is the problem with the European knowledge tradition. Most of the times they are in extremes. When they supported religion, they were extremely with religions, particularly Catholic Church. When they opposed religion, they were extremely with the materialistic outlook, negating religion. You find hardly the European scholars striking a balance, either to this extreme or to that extreme. You think and you read and you will see it for yourself. There are hardly cases that they are striking balance. Most times they are one-sided. Some one-sided, of course. This one side into which they go, they explore the one side thoroughly. That's always there. European philosophers, they explore the side which they go into thoroughly. You talk about Heidegger, he goes into thoroughly. Habermas, he goes into thoroughly. Now all those things, any modern philosopher of European context, they go into thoroughly. That's fine. But then there is no realization that they go to only one side. Extreme, but just one side. They rule out, or at least they don't give a space for the possibility of thoughts other than what they present. This danger is there. Now that will make the studies entirely reductionistic into one side. That's a serious thing. Critical thinking later becomes critical philosophy. Critical philosophy originates from a school of thinking, Horkheimer, Habermas, all those people, which is called as Frankfurt School, but they left Frankfurt and they were operating from Chicago subsequently. So Frankfurt School and critical thinking, and then many others were inspired by these people, and our youngsters are thoroughly inspired by these things. They sit and discuss for normal discussions. They again become conformists in critical thinking. Now that is an irony. They get themselves conformed to the so-called critical thinking, which is totally against the spirit of critical thinking, because they present themselves as though this is the only method of understanding. Right or wrong, you simply criticize whether you understand or not. That's a serious problem. And of course, they will reach nowhere. Nowhere. And anarchy is often projected along with this. What psychologically goes wrong with these people is that what is convenient to their existential situation of their extremely selfish personality, they adopt. What is convenient to their extremely self-centered thoughts, they support and say this is critically evaluating. And in most cases, such self-oriented, one-sided perspectives go against social norms. Normal social norms, different societies have different norms. Different societies have different patterns of behavior, and different societies also have different sets of values. Somebody who doesn't want to go by all those things, the texts resort to critical thoughts, critical thinking. And this is how critical thinking gets projected. And vast majority of people, the youngsters, oh, how respectfully they talk about Foucault, for example. I'm not against Foucault. I mean, in fact, I'm against no thinker. How respectfully they speak about thinkers as though, this is the point which I defend, as though they are the ultimate. They are the ultimate. This is a kind of fetishism which totally is against critical thinking. The situation is very interesting. This is what happens to people. Once a student came to me and asked me about, sir, what everyone is speaking so high of Foucault. I said, just try to read something and come back to me after a month. He comes back and he says, I don't understand anything. Then I tell you, if you don't understand, it's okay, fine. If you don't understand, that means you didn't find anything in it. So that's your choice, your problem. I will not say anything. It's up to you to find something or not to find something. Anyway, that was the situation. But then I asked, you go and ask the other friends who speak so highly about. Then he went and asked the other people, his students, other research scholars. And they also went on interrogating. This person had been asking them, going after them. Then finally some of them confessed, we also don't understand fully. We are only in the process of understanding. Fine. Now, you see how lucid and uncertain the knowledge situation is with the students. And there are some people supporting them, not supporting them. All the stories are there. But I'll tell you one thing. As a Nagarik of Bharat, critical thinking, can you guess from where it has begun? Who must have been the original critical thinkers in the entire world? Or you can say in the entire cosmos, though we know nothing much about the cosmos and cosmic thoughts. We don't have anything like that. But human kind's knowledge tradition, where the critical thinking must have started from? I know. Some of you must be making a guess. You would say it is Bharat. Yes, you're true. You're correct. From Bharat, you see, the modern scholars have spoken about 6 systems of Bharatiya knowledge tradition, 6 systems of philosophy, or Shad Darshanas, 6 Darshanas. And the great writer from Bengal, Surendranath Dasgupta, has written a wonderful book, 6 Ways of Knowing. Anyway, that is for you to read and refer in any case you would like to, in case you would like to go through. S.N. Dasgupta, Surendranath Dasgupta, very wonderful book, very systematic, wonderful book. So many people have written, not only he, so many people, T.M.B. Mahadevan has written, Hirian has written, so many people. So in the 6 systems of philosophy, that is, we don't call it as philosophy, we don't call this as philosophy for several reasons. We call it as 6 darshanas, Shad darshanas. The appropriate terminology is darshana, because I treat philosophy as entirely different from darshana. Two methods, 2 sets of knowledge. They have some differences. Now, one darshana is the Mimamsa darshana. 2 aspects of Mimamsa: Purva, earlier Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa, later Mimamsa. In Purva Mimamsa we have Prabhakara Mishra, Kumarila Bhatta, and Uttara Mimamsa, of course, Shankaracharya. Now that is not the point. I am not going to narrate the philosophies of these thinkers. I am just going to say, what is Mimamsa? Mimamsa is not accepting whatever anybody has told until you are convinced, simply in one sentence. Accepting only when you are convinced. No matter who says what, no matter what is written in which text, you accept it when you are convinced. Don't you think that is the biggest critical thinking? in the ocean of knowledge that is in Bharat, when long before, when others outside Bharat did not know what is 2 plus 2, when others knew nothing, we had this tremendously strong knowledge tradition, the Veda Upanishadic knowledge tradition, and a critical thinking tradition as Mimamsa. In fact, all Shad Darshanas have their merits. Nothing supports conformism, but especially the critical thinking in that spirit of European knowledge is vividly present in Bharatiya knowledge tradition with both vivacity and strength and open-endedness. Nothing is a close-ended business in Bharat, no matter which Darshana. Everything is open-ended. Nothing is end in knowledge. This is right. Nobody will tell. They will at the most say this is also right. The positions are different. To say this is right is different from this is also right. When you say this is right, it implies that is wrong, and in many cases they speak that is wrong. This is also right is typically the Veda Upanishadic epistemology of coexistence of the multiple and plural. So, everyone is after critical thinking, first being a Bharatiya, as a Bharatiya, you learn critical thinking from your home, which is much more complete, vivid and strong than other kinds of critical thinking, because in European critical thinking mostly you find the critical thinking itself gets into conformism, getting vitiated by circularity. What is the logical fallacy? I think it is petitio principii, logical fallacy of Aristotle, begging the question. No, that's a little more complicated. The critical thinking which you project itself is against critical thinking. Question begging fallacy, petitio principii. So, before pointing a finger at yourself by looking at the mirror, that is your tradition, your knowledge tradition, your Hindu dharma, to be explicit, your darshanas, and your nation, which is Bharat. Please try to understand that what you're doing. If you don't have something here, fine. But you have everything, only thing you don't know. And you don't know because of your own fault. The thing here is, European knowledge tradition is rather easy, simpler than this complicatedness and intricacies of Bharatiya knowledge tradition, because the Veda Upanishadic knowledge tradition has to be intricate because they present such vivid scenario, not a one track system of knowing. It's not simply linear. It takes into all kinds of dimensions, all developments. Anyway, I was watching something and someone was telling that is because there is no critical thinking, this thing happens. So I thought I'll speak about this critical thinking. So till we meet again with some other thoughts. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Siya Ram.